Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Tony Talks, where I interview or rather have conversations with inspirational leaders, influencers, change makers, and leaders, people that are not just doing well in life, but are doing good in the world. And today I have the absolute honor of having yet another friend of mine. He is the co-founder, among other things, he's the co-founder of Constant Contact. So he's a member of the founding team and has also had other successful startups. Alec learned invaluable lessons as he led companies through initial building stages, go-to-market, and growth and scale. Today, Alec is an entrepreneur, speaker, mentor, and investor, recognized as a top 100 influencers by Influence Magazine, speaking at conferences around the world, thousands of new and growing small business. Alex has been called the America's startup success expert. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce this man. He's a friend of mine. I've met him at an event where we were both speaking, and we developed a quick friendship, and he is here to drop some knowledge. He's already in the green room. I'm going to bring him on. Here he is, the one and only. He's a business expert, and he's going to drop some knowledge. So here we go. It's Mr. Alec Stern.
All right. How we doing?
Listen, if I was any better, I'd be twins. How you doing? Speaking of twins, by the way, I'm going to point out the obvious. I always seem to, 9 times out of 10, I'm matching my guests somehow. So, this guy, look at him. He's got style. We're matching again. It's pretty funny how this is happening. So for joining us today and sharing some of your time, some of your knowledge. And I always appreciate people's time, both you as my guest and everybody that's watching, because time is our most valuable asset, right? That's the thing that when you give it to someone, that's the most valuable asset because you can't get it back. So I honor you and I appreciate you for coming on here. Thank you, my friend, for coming up. So Alec Stern, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a conversation between the two of us, but not just with us. It's a conversation with all of you as well. It's very interactive. You can go on, and whether you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, you can post your questions or comments, and we'll share them and put them on the screen and get to as many of them as possible. So with that said, Mr. Alec Stern, tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing, what you're up to in the world, and just make it happen.
Sure. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And Tony, it's a pleasure to be on your show. And I've come on and guesting when some other folks have been on as soon as last week with Eric Swanson from Habitude Warrior Conference and so forth. So thank you for having me. So a little bit about me. I like to say I'm a serial entrepreneur who likes cereal. Most people then ask which cereal. So this week is Honey Nut Cheerios, for those that really want to know.
I love it.
But I've been involved in on the founding team or co-founder of 8 startups, and so far I've had 5 exits. So Constant Contact's the one that's the most notable. We're 3 of us in an attic starting, and I was one of the 3 co-founders in that attic. So pleasure to be here.
That's awesome. You know what? I got to give props, by the way. You mentioned Eric Swanson. Absolutely. Eric Swanson is a legend. That's where we met at the Habitude Warrior Conference. Actually, I think we'd met once before, but that's where we really connected. So if you've not been to a Habitude Warrior Conference, it's something to experience. Always a lot of great speakers and unbelievable knowledge being shared every single time. So Eric Swanson, Mr. Awesome. He's a special guy, really good guy, big, huge heart. And one hell of a connector. We had him on, like I said, on Friday. And by the way, I've been spreading around that it's not really a rumor, that plan that we're going to have that concert on Saturday. So we've got to touch base with that again because we may have a few other people that are just going to come in as guest musicians and singers. So it's going to be a great time.
Yeah. So just on that, I'm actually part of a large group birthday karaoke celebration the week later, and a friend of mine, Barry Hinckley, started YOTME, YOTME, which does virtual and on-premise concerts to raise money for charities. So he gave me a little bit of an insight as to how to sync up, because sometimes on these calls the audio sort of lags a little bit, especially between people. So he gave me some coaching on how we can make that even better.
That's awesome, because I was actually thinking the same thing. I said, how are we going to do it? Because sometimes there is, when one person speaks, the other person's mic goes a little bit lower. So hopefully we'll be able to do it on this platform. But if not, we're definitely going to figure out how to make sure. And it sounds like you're already ahead of the game.
He's giving me the tutorial, so we'll be all set.
Fantastic. So listen, in the time that we're dealing with this pandemic and this crisis, obviously the elephant in the room, one of the things that I always like to talk about, and that I know it's something that you talk about as well, is innovation is usually spawned out of necessity. And in today's world, and what everyone's dealing with, it's all that much more important to innovate and to think outside the box and to think how to do things in a different way. And I know that you're an expert at figuring things out and how to make things work. Certainly, listen, just before we came on live, he was giving me a little bit of advice to fix an issue that I had going on here. So tell us a little bit about what your experience is in today's world, and maybe something that you're working on, and some suggestions for others out here that are having a challenge to just keep their business up and running, and floating and growing and expanding.
Yeah. So I mean, in the spirit of paying it forward, there's no better time than now. I'm spending a lot of my time every day talking to small businesses and startups, and what can they do. And so the biggest thing that I really focus on is that when we're in the day-to-day of running startup or running our business, we're totally consumed with the tactical, all the tactical things we need to do to succeed. And so now that we're all sheltering in place, and with all the distancing required, it gives us the opportunity to step back and look at the strategy around our business. And so I've challenged a lot of folks. I've had 3 or 4 calls so far today with startups and small businesses to just talk through about they're in a lane on a highway, and they're sort of proceeding forward, and they're having some good success. And I'll ask them, what are your challenges, or what are your goals and objectives that maybe you haven't met yet, or what's that kind of 5-year vision? And when we get into that, oftentimes it's the devil's in the tactics, because you focus on that so much, you don't step back to really look and see if you're really optimizing what you're doing. And so when you're on that lane in the highway, and many of the folks I've talked to, just to the adjacent to where they are, is an opportunity that they can be working on and validating and doing all the things you need to do today, because everyone's available. So if you're a startup and you want to, for example, work with small businesses, while they're not all open, it's easy to get in touch with small business owners. Simply visiting their websites and then asking if they had a few minutes to just talk about a new offering that could drive more people into their business, or drive more revenue, or whatever it may be. And so you can do a lot of testing and iterating and validating and utilize that for a new business. And if it's an existing one, really assess what you're doing. Are you really optimizing your time day to day? And odds are you're not. And so let's find out strategically, what should you be doing? Either do more of something you're doing now, but you're on pause to do, but set yourself up to do more, or look to see if there's something new, so that you can get to that, and from that inflection point of where you are to a scale point. And so we've had breakthrough through moments pretty much on every single call when we strategize around their business.
Yeah, I think it's so important to just look around and see where the holes are, because wherever you're leaking out now, wherever you're bleeding out, that's where you need to pay attention. That's where you need to focus. Right. So many times, people are in denial, and they're not wanting to look at what they have to look at. Sometimes they look at things worse than they are, and many times they look at them. What's even more dangerous than that is looking at things better than they are. Actually, I'll venture to say that that's more dangerous, right? Because then you're not watching the signals. So yeah, look at your business. Look at even when we're talking about business, but look at your own home and your own, we'll call them budgets, for lack of a better word. Where are you maybe leaking? Where do you need to pay attention in your relationships? Where do you need to pay attention? Where's the stress point now? Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually, so they started with the term, social distancing, which we're so much more social now than we were when we weren't in this lockdown. So they've moved to physical distancing, and I like to say long distancing because I have a lot of people in my life that are not necessarily down the block or that I could easily get to, and I don't necessarily reach out to all the time. They're very, very special in my life, from great friends to mentors, advisors, even investors, people that I just you lose touch with. And so I'm using the long distancing tactic and reaching out, calling folks, setting up Zoom calls and other tools to just be able to interact and spend some time. And and it's just, I mean, it's a great way to reconnect, and it's also a great way to toss out some things that I've got several things I'm working on, and throwing out when they ask, throwing out ideas, and then they're able to give me some thoughts and feedback, and in a couple of cases some intros. So that all those opportunities exist, and we could be like we're sitting here right now is almost as if we're both in the same room doing it. So you have to just utilize some of these tools to be able to do the same thing. Only now we can do it better because we have no physical boundary or limitation. We can go anywhere. I'm going around the world and back.
That's it. And what you said actually in the last bit as well. It's actually, in a way, it's great for you to be able to test things and have conversations with people, because you're being able to access people at a different level that we've never been able to before, because people aren't in meetings. They're not running around as much as they were. The world has slowed down. So it's given us the ability to be able to reach people that we wouldn't normally reach. You can reach your ideal customer right now via Facebook, via StreamYard, via YouTube, via Twitter, whatever other social, TikTok, whatever social app you have, because there's more eyeballs right now on social media or even on email than ever before, because people have more physical time. So now is the time to really beta test maybe an idea or a program, without going out to the world, right? But your family and friends, your coworkers, people that you're in strategic alliances with, get into that mastermind that you've thought about getting into. I certainly run a mastermind myself, and I'm always encouraging people to even start their own masterminds or start their own group, even if it's just a small group. So, but yeah, thank you for the reminder of that. Now we're it's that much easier. Heck, look, I got, normally I know that booking you out for an event, whether it be an in-person event or even sometimes just an interview or a Zoom call like we're doing right now, or StreamYard, a 1 hour session, I know sometimes is difficult because you're booked out so far out, right?
Yeah. So every single person that I've reached out to, I'm like, would you happen to have a little time for X? They're like, these days, sure. Like everyone has been open to it, where when we're on the treadmill of life, normally, like, it's really hard to carve out time because there's so many things that are pulling at you. And just now it's giving everyone a chance to sort of step back and focus a little bit more on either some of those things that they backburnered, or ideas they may have had and just never did anything with, or just, again, kind of running something around their current business on how to take it to the next level. And everyone's available and open, and these, a lot of these tools, will become the norm for us to be able to, going forward, for us to be able to communicate with folks more regularly, and again, not using or not thinking about the limitations that we had before, because we don't have them anymore, and we're proving that out with everything in life. I mean, I had 20 people on a birthday, celebration yesterday, for a friend's son. That, where I normally would just text them or maybe give them a quick call. We had 15 or 18 of us all on it, at the same time. And of course, people playing around, like, we're just having fun with it, putting, different backgrounds on, like, they're like, oh, you're in San Francisco, just dropping in,
right.
Tools, dropping in the different backgrounds or a photo. So I put up a photo of all the people that were on that call, that we took a group photo. So that was the backgrounder of me, and then I moved out of the way so everyone could see the photo, and everyone just you can have some fun with it. So
yeah, have fun with it. Again, think outside the box. Again, innovation is spawned necessity. It was my son's birthday yesterday, and I had a birthday party for him. We had about 45 people come, but not to worry. It was all within the social distancing part. I'm fortunate to have a couple of acres of property, so I actually I borrowed a screen from a friend of mine, an outdoor movie projector and a big screen, and I had 15 cars parked outside. Everybody stayed in their cars and watched the movie. Everybody sang happy birthday to him and drove away. So yeah,
good for you.
Cool. That was cool. Listen, you got to think outside the box.
Right.
Right. There, as a matter of fact, there is no box. But somebody, I forget who it was that I was on with the other day, is everybody talks about getting outside the box. Sometimes the answer is actually in the box, stuck in one of the corners or underneath a flap.
Right.
So, it's interesting. Just everything's just so interesting. But we are in some interesting times, and I'm excited to see what technology is going to come out of this.
Yeah.
What innovation to what we already know is going to come out of this. So let me switch gears and just ask you, for anybody that's out there that's working on a project, working on a startup, what's maybe one or two great pieces of advice that you can give to somebody that's out there looking to start something? Where should they start? Somebody's got a great idea right now, and they're like, man, if only I can do this or get this going, this would be a game changer right now in this market. What would be the first step for anybody out there that has that idea? Sure.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of things. So first and foremost, I always ask people, are you an innovator? And in a room full of folks, a lot of conferences, I'll ask the question. And about 5% of the room raises their hand, and the rest don't think that they're innovators. And so I'll say, how many of you any day, week, month experience a product or service and say, God, that could have been done better? Or they if they switched it this way, or we're always thinking, right? And so I say, how many of you have ideas around things like that? And every hand goes up. And so I'll say, okay, the difference between someone with an idea and someone who's an innovator, if you have the idea and you run it by someone else, you start working on it a little bit, or you run it by someone else, or you grab someone else to join you to work on the idea, you've now moved over to being an innovator, because you're trying to solve something that is either in the market today and can be done better, or doesn't exist, like we did in the case of Constant Contact, and you've seen it with Uber and Airbnb and Facebook and so on. So 15% are the ones never done before, and roughly 85% are just something that's already out there, just executed better. So now you have this idea. What do you do with it? The first thing is you identify kind of on the bullseye of a dartboard, who's your target customer? And so, people say small business. Well, if we go around the room and define small businesses, you'll have a million answers, 500 and less employees, or so many customers, or so much revenue. But you have to be really granular and focused on exactly, like, is it Main Street small businesses that you walk anywhere on any main street in the world? Is that your target customer, or is it actually larger? And then you need to take your idea and go talk to them. And I would always say, don't talk to your family, don't talk to your friends, don't talk to anyone you've done business with before, because they're all going to show you the love. You go to someone you don't know, and then you'll get brutal, honest feedback. And so it's easy today to go find folks that would be in sort of that target market of yours, and go ask them for their feedback. And you could do it aided or unaided. You could say, I have an idea, and if I could do the following for you, would that be useful? And then unaided is where you would just say, look, what do you think of this? And just don't coach them and guide them. Let them just kind of look at something. It might be a couple of slides, or it might be a mock-up of some sort, or whatever it is. You could do a 3D printed piece, if it's a physical product, and then put it in their hands, and let's see how they react, and ask them for their feedback. So it's really important to get your target customer feedback as early as possible. Don't be in stealth mode. Everyone's like, I'm in stealth mode. I got to keep it a secret. I don't want to tell anyone. You're not going to get out of your own way if you stay there, and you don't know the answers of, maybe you were in their shoes before, but it changes. So you're not in their shoes today. So you want to ask them versus what you think because they're going to give you that feedback that's current, relevant, and can help you take the idea forward.
That's actually a good point, because so many times people have an idea like, if I go and I ask people about it, they're going to take my idea and they're going to run with it.
Right.
And arguably that is a possibility, but it's either that or maybe somebody else starts that idea before you do anyway, and then they're the ones that have the success. So, by the way, anybody that's watching this now, if share this video out and take notes, because Alec is not only the co-founder of several companies which he's exited successfully, but he's also an investor in startups. He's the mentor to those startups. So he's the real deal. He's the person that is here to drop some knowledge. So if you know anybody that has an idea, that has a company that they're struggling to get off the ground, have them tune in, tag them now, share the video, call them, do something to make sure that and if they don't watch this live, which is okay, they can watch the replay on Facebook or certainly on YouTube. But share this out, because this is really great information. So,
and if I don't know if you can type into the comments or put it up on screen, I can give you. I'm just going to find it real quick. If you text the word pillars, capital PILLARS, pillars. Text that to 59925. That'll give you a workbook of just some of these principles that we're talking about.
Okay. So here we go. Put it up on screen here. There we go. So text pillars
to 59925.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Minor.
59925. There we go. That's the right one. Text pillars to 59925, and you'll be able to download a workbook on some of the things that we're talking about. So thank you for that. Sorry for that typo.
No worries. That's it.
So that's one tip. What else? What else have you got?
Yeah. So so now that you have your idea, most startups, including myself with several, have what I like to call the bicycle wheel syndrome. Mm-hmm. And so if you had a bicycle wheel and every spoke on the wheel was another idea for how you're going to help your target market, we all sit there and say, oh, we can do this, and also we can do that, and if we had this, and the bottom line is you got to find the one spoke that you're going to start with, because you have to nail one thing. If you nail one thing and you do it well, you're going to get feedback. You're going to get customer testimonials. You're going to be able to potentially get revenue, and all that will drive you to, hiring folks, get the flywheel going in the business. We oftentimes want to do too many things and we dilute our efforts, and we have to do one really well versus a bunch of things, kind of partially well initially. And so find the one spoke. And so when I ask a room full of people how many know what that one core thing is that they're going to start with, about 10 or 15% of the hands go up. So that's fine. There's no wrong answers here. But if you want to get out and you want to do something, figure out what that one thing is and nail it. And I'll tell you, when we started Constant Contact, we had every spoke filled with another idea. But we had to find the one spoke, which was email marketing, which today, was the anchor product for throughout the life of the company and still is. As you know, we sold, so I'm not involved anymore. About 3 years ago, and so it's really, really important to find that one core thing.
I love that, because so many of us, myself included, sometimes you get into something and you wind up doing too many things that you're not doing any. You're doing all of them pretty well, but you're not doing any of them to the point that you could and should to be able to elevate your business to the next level. And like I said, I've been guilty of that in the past myself. Right. So yeah, find that one thing. And, there's that great book, One Thing, as well, right? By Gary Keller, talks about that as well. Just do the one thing and then add things once you've mastered that one and you really got that one going the right way, right?
Yes, so. Exactly. And some of the things after that one spoke, some of the things, if you're laying on a highway, some of the things will be in the next lane next to you. It's adjacent. And so it's easy to add it sometimes with, a little bit of a minor adjustment to the initial offering. And some things are in other lanes, and in some cases other highways. So you have to really, you can't do too many of the things, especially if they're so disparate. I spoke to a startup the end of last week, and they said, we've got 3 things we're focused on. So that scares me right away. And all 3 were completely distinct different. So the analogy that I'll use for this is Nike started with sneakers, right? And then they went from basketball to tennis to running to whatever. So they were in the sneaker business. Then they went over to clothing. Then they went over to golf and accessories, bags, balls, clubs. This startup was going to do the equivalent. I'm like, okay, those are like starting 3 separate companies when you're at the beginning, and you don't have the money from one of those ideas to fund the others. So how on earth are you going to succeed? And so I pressed him pretty hard, and I said, I don't need an answer right now, but you have to go off and figure out which one are you going to focus on. What are you going to start with? And if you have success with that one, then that can fund, go to the adjacent ones like Nike did, right? Go from running to basketball to tennis to whatever. They're all sneakers, little slightly twist to them. So, maybe you're changing 20-30% of your process and everything and marketing, but you're not starting basically a whole new company with a new idea.
That's actually a great example, because had they come out with everything all at once, they might not have had the same success because they wouldn't have been focused on one thing or another.
Right.
That's great. So focus on the one thing and get it done right before adding another spoke to the tire. So to the
right.
Wheel. Very good. Awesome. So so that was a great example. Do you have any other examples that you can share with us as to what some of the disasters that are out there? Because I think that would be a helpful exercise, because there's a lot of us out here. I say all the time that it's great to share your life's experiences with people, because you never know when your journey up the mountain, your climb up the mountain is somebody else's survival guide, right? Because you've gone through so many of the difficult things.
Sure.
I think that sometimes having and we all hear about the great examples, which is awesome. But I think that sometimes by hearing some of the disastrous examples, because some of us may think, oh my God, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. It's a great idea and it sounds good in their head, but maybe it's a terrible idea. And maybe you've already seen some of these train wrecks, and maybe what's 1 or 2 train wrecks that you've had, so we can dissuade anyone that may be on the same track.
Yeah, so I haven't had too many. I'm knocking on wood here at the table. I haven't had any real personal train wrecks. I think some of it is back to narrowing. Like in the case of having an idea, knowing your target market, know your go-to-market, and then the go-to-market, sometimes just being either too wide with it or just not, again, focusing on the few things that can put most of your prospects into a funnel before you take on too many others. But you have to test your way into the others, because you might find a nice golden nugget with a part of the target market that's hanging out somewhere, and fill the funnel differently than you were doing. But I think we oftentimes will just want to, let's do it all, and so again, like this finding the one thing or finding a few things, you got to just keep challenging yourself as you move through the go-to-market strategy. After you've figured out the one thing in terms of the product, then it's your target market. What's the one aspect of your target market? Well, someone will say, well, we should do small business and enterprise and international, and what's the one thing, right? So you start with Main Street, and you might say, let's get so granular that I'm here in beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. Let's go down the Main Street within Boston and start there, and then really figure out how this works and how to get the flywheel going, and then broaden and expand from there. So you have to continue to do that. I think to your question, when I talk about the bullseye on a dartboard, that one core thing, I think the other flip to that is then how are you messaging and letting people know what you're doing. And we always, and Simon Sinek, if Start With Why is a great book, for anyone to read. Where you're really starting with the why, and then you're working out to the how and the what. Oftentimes we want to just talk about the speeds and the feeds and the capacity and how as opposed to the experience, and why would someone want to stop everything and use this product or service. And so it's a great book, and I really love the work that he's done to really drive that point home. And so I think that's another place where we fail or we fall down. And there's so many, MP3s, if I'll date myself, MP3s were the hot, cool new thing where you could plug it in and listen to songs. Well, they were talking about, things like storage and battery life. And where then Apple comes along with the iPod, and it's like, well, imagine you can listen to any song, anytime, anywhere. It's like, wow, I like that. I could give you the examples. TiVo was the first, thing for on demand for watching your the TV shows and movies. And they talked about storage and how many things you could, how many different things you can have being recorded at once. But it's like, imagine you could watch, your favorite TV show anytime, day or night, or catch that movie that you wanted to always see at your leisure. Like that's around the experience and so he just does a good job at that. And I think we lose sight, and I see there's so many companies that I look at their ads and I listen to their commercials, or when I get engaged with them, I see they're just really they're not focused on why I would benefit from it. And that's a key thing it's subtle in some cases and it's not in others, where you really have to focus on that.
Yeah. So that's good. That's a great tip. Go narrow and deep rather than wide and shallow, right? But when I was saying, by the way, the train wrecks, I wasn't talking about companies that you involved in. I'm talking about people that pitch you, that they come to pitch you. Maybe not train wreck is a bad example, but obviously, listen, as I like to say in life, you can either be a warning or an example. And I'd rather be an example, not a warning, right? So exactly. That's really what I was talking about. Not.
Yeah, I understand. I heard the question. I was just going to address it a different way. But as far as like I hear pitches, I am my own investor, but I also limited partner in G20 Ventures, the letter G20 Ventures here in Boston, and we do tech investments, and we're on our third fund, and so I've been active with that and helping source, vet, select, and scale the businesses that we invest in. And it's a different model where this G20 group of 20 are the investors, but they're also active partners to help the companies we're investing in to succeed. So I spent a lot of time looking at pitches for a lot of reasons, plus pitch contests and stuff all over the world. I've been doing judging pitch contests, and recently, before all this hit, Taiwan and Australia and sort of everywhere, and so there's you could really pick out the folks that have that their idea has legs, but more importantly, they really have the sort of the passion, and they'll succeed. There are some people that like the sound of saying I'm an entrepreneur, and there are others that just don't care about the title and just want to get it done. And so it's all the ideas start with the founder or founding team. Hopefully, there's more than one. You have a couple of people that you stay in your lane. If you're the technical person, should you be doing all the business stuff? And vice versa. Stay in your lane. So it's the founding folks. It's that team. As you sort of expand out, it's the overall large market, that market opportunity, the problem in that market, and then kind of you're the answer to the solution. And then sort of what are you doing that's different than what's out there today? And, as you would just work your way through some of those things, then that tells a good story. But, I hook or crook, I love the founder or founding team where if they hit an obstacle, and this is the thing where I think a lot of companies fail, they'll hit an obstacle and it sometimes they feel it's insurmountable and they just want to, some will just want to pack it up and go home, right? Let me take my lunchbox and go home. But then there's others who are like, we're going to stay here. We're going to figure it out. We'll do whatever it takes to figure it out. And I've invested in some companies solely around the team because their passion, their drive, and their willingness to be able to handle those obstacles was for me the best sign that that they could have success, because things are going to hit you. And so I would just say in life in general, this is one of the things I had to learn early on, that we oftentimes will walk into the office, we'll have a sheet of paper, and we'll put on the top line an obstacle that we're faced that we got to deal with, and then we put a little box to the left, and we hope by the end of the day we check it. And then all stuff hits, we get through our day, it's still on there. We come in the next day, we either use the same sheet or we put it on the top of the next sheet, and it sort of just keeps showing up, and it's weighing on us, right? And so what I would say to everybody, that obstacle, guarantee, I'll bet you $1 that someone else has had that problem before, and someone has failed at trying to solve it, and others have succeeded at it. and go seek out some mentorship and some advisors and others to just talk through it. Try to see if you can break it down into smaller pieces, break down and knock down smaller wins with solving it. And then eventually you'll solve that problem. You start to develop a muscle memory to handling obstacles, because I'm going to bet you another $1 that the obstacle sitting behind that one is bigger. And then you figure out how to break that one down and solve it. I'll bet you another $1, the one behind that is bigger. And if you can get into that rhythm and solving that, this is where I feel a lot of people fail, because they get blinded by these situations. And it's come up before, it's been solved before, and you have to just figure out how to solve it to move forward.
Yeah, people wind up getting stuck behind their challenges. I say it all the time. You probably heard me say it, that life is happening for us. And this is something Tony Robbins says all the time. Life is happening for us, not to us. Things that are happening in life, to your point, and I will not bet you that $1 because I know what the outcome of that would be.
Double or nothing.
Double or nothing. There you go. Because the one thing is, you're right. You figure something out, and right behind that, there's another problem. Sometimes it's a smaller problem, but when it's a smaller problem, you don't even think of it as a problem. It's just kind of like a mosquito. It's no longer that a coyote or right. It's no longer a threat. Now it's smaller you can deal with, but behind that is another problem. And that's life preparing us, right? It's life forcing us to grow through what we go through. Because when we can grow, that's the whole thing, get up and grow, right? Because we can get up and grow through what we go through, then we're better prepared for what's coming. So we love that.
Said better right there. Drop the mic.
No, listen, I'm getting this stuff from you. You're great. The other thing that you talked about that is a common theme with a lot of the people that are coming on here is to get a mentor. Right? Get a mentor, someone that's already been there, somebody that's done that, and get an advisor, somebody that's an expert in what they're doing, instead of trying to figure it out on their own, or just go to your Aunt Betty, or sorry if you're watching Betty, she's not my aunt, but there's Betty that watches a lot.
I'm just gonna put up a comment right now.
Yeah. By the way, she is a fractional CFO as well, so so she would be an expert, oddly enough, but or rather, and. She would actually be the right Aunt Betty to go to. Seek out the advice from people that have been there. One of the lines that I love to say is, stop taking advice from people that you're not willing to switch places with. Right? If they've not been where you've been, then stop taking advice from them.
Right.
They don't know the way to get to where you want to go.
Right. So the other thing, the analogy, like in the workplace, like hire your replacement, right? Like find someone who can replace you, because then you're going to move up and do something else, where a lot of people are challenged by that or are threatened by it, and they won't. And so we get comfortable wanting to find that mentor, someone who's going to be rah-rahing us and believe everything we're doing. I want someone who's going to challenge it and be like, no, you're wrong. Like, we got to sit down and really go through this. And, all the advice from anyone you get is you take it, you have to sift through it, decide what things you want to potentially do or not. Hey, Dana, good to see you. Well, not see you, virtually see you, I guess. Yeah. So I would say that you got to play up. You got to play up. And I call it the smart factor. Find smart investors, find smart, people you're going to hire, co-founders or employees, find smart partners, find smart mentors, advisors. And the smart factor is really about just making sure that you've got someone who's going to round out what you're doing, and not necessarily just always agree. And I've been invited on boards for startups, and I'll just say, listen, and so I'll take the independent seat, because normally it's those that work for the company, a couple of execs, and then the investors, and they have an independent seat. So I'll often be asked to do the independent seat, and I'll say, I'm going to be independent, but I'm going to challenge you. Like, I'm not going to just because you asked me to do this, I'm going to be your buddy and want to agree on everything. And because it's just really important to make sure you've got someone who's, and being constructive, not destructive. Like, when you're mentoring somebody, you don't give them the answer that's like, oh, just call this guy or go do this. Like, you're challenging them at every turn to solve things. The startup has to learn how to, sort of fend for themselves and solve everything themselves. So you guide them and you work with them And then eventually you work your way into what the best path or the answer will be. And so I think it's just really important that getting really good, smart mentors and advisors. And from the earliest days with all the startups I'm involved in, seeking out like who would be the best mentors for this, the business, and then, following them, go to conferences that they're speaking at, try to get some FaceTime with them, reach out, say, I'm going to be at the conference. Could we grab coffee? Like, be diligent. We're going up and down the aisles and reading name badges to find the people that you want to talk to. And I followed one guy very strategic for a partnership. I saw his badge, and I was kind of in the distance watching, and he was going over toward the Starbucks line. So I ran up right behind him. So I was in the line with him, and we had 15, 20 people at a conference in front of us, trying to get coffee and stuff. And so we struck up a conversation, and we ended up doing a pretty major deal together, simply by just being present, and I'll give you one other example. Driving in Uber, driving in Uber cars, everywhere is an opportunity. And so you know your audience. I'll often ask the Uber driver, is this your full-time job, or do you have experience or doing something else? And they'll say, yeah, I'm a mechanical engineer, and I make consumer products out of metals or whatever. And I said, oh, that's so funny. I happen to be working with a company that's doing that. And in two instances in an Uber car, one, I got investment for them, and two, I got them one of the best strategic advisors, who was that Uber driver. That in that case, he's like, I was driving my wife crazy, so I needed to get out of the house. I thought this would be a good way to meet people, and like great conversation. And in those two instances, did a matchup for others. So just there's the opportunities are abound, and just be creative. Don't sit there and put your earbuds in and wherever you are, engage with people, and you'll never know who you're going to talk to.
That's it. Always listen. I that reminds me, and I'll just share this quick story. I was without detail, but I took an Uber in LA to the airport, and I think I hit shared Uber, sometime, or Lyft, or one of them. And I was in the car, and I was having a conversation with the driver, and we were just talking about scaling and what she would have to do. But she was kind of one of those people that, oh no, capitalism is not my thing, whatever. So I said, listen, you're not going to be able to make the impact you want to make, what have you. And you just got to let go of control sometimes. And we're having this conversation. The woman next to me says, yeah, that was the most difficult thing for me to finally do. We had 3 7-Elevens, and giving up control was so difficult. But when we finally did, it was wonderful. And, we're up to about 123 of them now. And I'm like, wait, what? 7-Eleven. So it was the best coaching that this Uber driver could possibly have gotten, because you never know who you're going to be sitting next to. You never know on the airplane. Engage the people. If they don't want to talk, they don't want to talk, but engage people, because sometimes, you may be just the person that they need to hear from, because we're all teachers, we're all students. And sometimes by having a conversation with someone, they may be the exact person that you need to hear from. Listen, I am a believer in nothing ever happens by accident. You meet people when you're supposed to meet them. You cross paths with the right person at the right time. But here's the thing. It's about recognizing the opportunity, right? There's the old saying of, luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. And that is so true, because even if you get lucky, but you're not prepared, you may not recognize the opportunity.
Right.
And who was it? There was someone last week. It might have been Dan. It was Dan Clark that said, it's like the whole dog barking and chasing the car. What happens when you catch it? What the hell? What's a dog going to do with the car when he catches the car? Right. So it's almost the same thing. So I say it all the time. And again, recurring theme. This is a great time now to sharpen your tools, to prepare yourself for when the opportunity arises, so that you know enough about what it is that you want, and you recognize the opportunity, right? Otherwise, you won't know what to do with that car when you catch it.
You got it. And I personally won't chase a car myself, but
right.
Natalie's in the house. I see Natalie Susi right there.
She's in the house. Hey, Natalie, how are you? I've got to have Natalie. I'm going to have her on maybe one day next week or something as well. She's a powerhouse.
She is.
itself. Amazing group of people that Mr. Eric Swanson put together, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So I've been fortunate to be on his stages for years, and we're best buds. So we spend a lot of time together, and he's a great man, and he's doing a lot. He's doing a lot to. He's a connector, and he's a community builder, and he's an influencer, and he's a motivator. Like getting all these people together and have great speakers that at his conferences, and it's incredible. I think April 24th there's a virtual Habitude Warrior Conference coming. So maybe share that out with your group, but that'd be a great one. We have a bunch of great speakers and stuff. So
yeah, I've got to get the link from him. I was speaking about that on Friday with him. So I can post it. Or Susie, if you know that link.
No, I don't think it's out yet, but it's coming.
Okay, good. Well, I'll definitely post it I told him, I said, he's got my support with what he's doing. I can't wait till we're freed up again and able to move around and share some stages again, change some lives. In the meantime, we get to change them via Zooms and StreamYards and Facebook and everything else. So
I don't know what I'll do when I'm face to face with people. Like, I just honestly don't know how I'm going to act.
Yeah, right. But you know what? Here's what I'll say as well. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. She says, well, sometimes, when I'm on the spot, I don't know what to say, or, and so I was challenging her to do more, to become the expert in her field, to do videos and to come on and do videos. And she says, I don't know that I can do that. I said, now is the best time for you to practice. And practicing when you're small and you don't have, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5,000 people watching, it's best to do that, right? It's best to practice when like I said, it's best to fall when you're still small. Like even in business, you're better off making those big, expensive mistakes when you're small than making those big, expensive mistakes when you're big, because they're exponentially bigger and they can definitely, and it's a lot harder to rebound from, a $10 million mistake than it is a $10,000 mistake.
That's correct.
So just keep swinging, keep trying, and get on here, get yourself onto social media and practice your pitches. Go on there and just send it out to whoever you think your clients are. Fail forward. I say it all the time. It doesn't matter if you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, because you're still a step ahead. You're still, you're getting closer to what you want. Let's see what is Natalie saying here. Eric Swanson, authentic connector. Yes, he is. Well, when he came on Friday, I was talking about how he's an expert connector, human connector for sure. Yeah. So going back to it, play up, find smart investors, and the smart factor. And sometimes, people are starting something. They say, well, but I don't have enough. I can't afford to get a CFO. I can't afford to get, a tech person or whatever it is. Think outside the box. Maybe you can't afford to pay that person what they would normally get. But 2 things. Number 1, right now is a great time to get people that you normally wouldn't be able to get, like we had said earlier. And 2, maybe you give them give them a fraction of what they would look for when they're working with someone else, but you give them a piece of the upside. Maybe you cut them in on the deal or whatever it is. Get that strategic partnership. That those smart investors, find those smart investors that Alec is talking about. So that's another great tip. So
yeah, and so you mentioned Aunt Betty earlier being a fractional CFO. There are a lot of folks out there, and in fact, when we were at the Habitude Warrior Conference, there was a fractional CMO conference next to us.
Right.
Talked to several of them who are like big brand CFOs or CMOs, Pepsi and Hasbro and all these other companies that are now fractional, where they're willing to work a day, 2, 3. And so when we started Constant Contact, we had a fractional CFO and we had some other folks that were part-time for us. We had a ton of interns. We sort of worked the system to get as much help as we could without the overcommitment to someone full-time in some roles. Because when you're starting, you don't necessarily need a CFO out of the gate. But you need someone to do your books, and you need someone to sort of check in and make sure that your checks and balances are there and sort of how you're doing systematizing and how you're doing your forecasting and sort of all those and projections and the modeling. And so you can get somebody, who's an expert at it and get the best people and not necessarily have to bring them in full time. So there's a lot of options today for finding the smart factor in different aspects of the business. And again, when you go and find your mentors, those mentors could be across the board. Find a mentor who's really strong on financial planning and analysis, and then go find someone who's really strong on engineering and development or whatever it may be. You don't have to necessarily always find somebody that's just straight up on the business side or whatever it may be. So there's a lot of ways to sort of bring in some expertise and where it's smart to help you in the areas you need in the business.
Yeah, and like we were talking about before, the opportunities right now for leveraging the internet and social media and everything else, being able to go to Fiverr, being able to go to some of these other places where you can get someone to do some of that work for you for a fraction of what it may cost. The other thing that Natalie coming on here reminded me, and you just said it again, getting some interns. And right now, what a great time to be able to get interns, right? Because even the college students that are still taking online classes, it's still not the same as being at the universities. So finding reach out to someone, actually. And I'm reminded of that because Natalie's a professor, right? She's a college professor in Southern California somewhere. Sorry, Natalie, I don't remember exactly which university.
UC San Diego.
UC San Diego. Awesome. I've been in that campus with Tony Robbins and his youth program, Global Youth Leadership. Yeah, I was a coach for them, and we stayed in the campus there. So beautiful place. So yeah, so being that she's a professor, we were talking about that as well, is the ability to be able to get some interns where they can come and do some work for you, whether you at a very reduced rate in many cases, and it could also be part of their project at school. So it could be, one hand washes the other, and then they have an opportunity, and now you have an in with someone that may be really good, that when they're done with school, that you may be able to pluck them early.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so in Constant Contact had, 40, 50 interns, give or take every semester. And oftentimes, as they would go toward graduation, we'd hire a bunch of them. They're great. Anyone who take the initiative and want to sort of jump in and help. And I think, just looking at different stages of the business, I was advising one startup, and they had 45 interns when they were like a year old as a startup, and they got 4 or 5 in each group, and they just worked it, and they just had great success with that. I wouldn't advise that for everyone because you got a lot of management there, but they figured out how to manage that and take advantage of the youth and talent that's out there. And oftentimes we take for granted that they're millennials, or they're Gen Zs, or the bottom line is that they're learning skills, and they're always on their phones and computers and games, and they know things that we don't necessarily know, and they're also a good test case for if you're working on a product that you want to bring out. They can give you feedback. There's all kinds of places where they can help, but interns are it's a great addition to any business, especially when you're young.
And I love this. We're talking about it. And I'm so glad Natalie came on, because check it out. Whoop, whoop. Call me for interns. I have some incredible students who are looking for awesome entrepreneurs to work with. So how about that, everybody?
There you go.
It's Natalie Susie. Send her a private message if you're looking for some interns. And she's an unbelievable instructor as well. So so I'm sure that if she's saying that they're incredible interns or incredible students that are looking for opportunities, I will believe her. So reach out for her if you're looking for an intern. Absolutely. Love that.
There you go.
And she said, great options for entrepreneurs who want to leverage their time, but don't want to hire full-time and still want to work with motivated, driven, and creative people. Absolutely. Think outside. Again, this is the thing about thinking outside the box, because I know at many times where I've wanted to start something, and I'm like, oh, but I have this to do, I have that, and I can't get everything, and who am I going to get? And I don't know that I can afford someone to do the right thing. So interns, beautiful. I love it. I love it. Everything just Alec Stern said. Okay, I'll be quiet.
So I'm actually, Natalie is channeling through me. So these are her words.
Nice. Well, listen, I'm going to have her on. Like I said, I got to reach out to you, Natalie, maybe next week or beginning of the other. But possibly next week. I think I've got a slot open. I'm trying to blend in some beauty among the beasts.
Oh, come on.
No, but I'm trying to bring in some amazing women as well. Actually, tomorrow our mutual friend Sharon Lecter is going to be on with us as well.
Well, yeah, send her my love. She's a dear friend.
Yeah, she's great. Hold on, what did she say? Sorry, my grammar is poor right now. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. You've been out of school for 3 weeks and your grammar's going the heck in the handbasket. So I don't know. I don't know, Natalie.
So Natalie, we're not grading your texts, so don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Get a passing grade at the end of this live. Don't worry.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're not. You know what? There's not going to be a test at the end of this. But maybe there is.
Oh, yeah.
So, does anybody have any questions? Because we got about 5 or 6 minutes left with Mr. Alec Stern here. And this is a great opportunity to get him. This guy is not easy to get. So if you have a question for him, now would be the time. And if I could, Alec, if I can ask you that, if I have some questions that come in here, if you can either monitor the string or I'll forward them to you, and maybe we can get an answer to anybody that may have a question.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. I can actually jump on the stream after and see what's in there and answer them. So
thank you for that. All right. So do you have the one more step in this, or you want to leave people with getting the smart factor and finding smart investors and getting the right people around you? Because having the right people around you, I cannot stress enough, having the right people around you and listening to the experts, listening to the people that have been where you want to go.
Right. You got it. There's one I'd love to touch on. Just I call it look big, act big, become big. Look big, act big, become big. And this is around perception. So oftentimes I'll say, show of hands in the room, how many people have a Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, AOL, RSN email address for their business? And I'd say 30% of the room raises their hand. And so perception would be that how serious are you taking this business? If you have a domain and you have a logo, you have a domain, you have a website or a web page even, but you can't spend the $5 to get an email address with your domain, info at your name at, with your company name. It's just so important because that's one of the first things. They say when you first meet somebody, you have a few seconds to decide whether you're gonna engage and want to talk to them. If I get an email in from a business and it's the company name at Gmail or the person's name at Gmail, if they truly have a branded business out there, it deflates me a bit to be like, how serious are they? So that's one thing. And then the second thing is that be all buttoned up. Branding yourself and branding the business a bit. You've got your logo now. Maybe put it on shirts when you go to a conference. You want to walk around with your logo and then maybe a tagline that will attract people to want to ask. So what do you do? What do you do? What's this business all about? But always look professional, And so, and then finally, perception around so your own personal energy. So I'd ask people, how many in the room have that one strategic customer, partner, investor, somebody that you want to get on the phone with, but you're hesitant to call them? And every hand goes up. Everyone has somebody that they wanted to make contact with for some reason or another, and we're hesitant. So if you're hesitant and you go visit a friend, not now, do it when we have the lift of this distancing.
Right.
You go to a friend's house and they just had a baby and they're like, hold the baby, and you're like, oh boy, here we go. And you take the baby's going to cry, right? And so they're going to feel the energy. So before I say, don't hesitate to call the person you're going to call. If it's a large strategic partner and you want to hold off calling them, you've just delayed yourself 9 months, because in 9 months when you want to call them, they're going to be another 9 months another 9 months to negotiate possibly partnering or investing or whatever it may be. So what you want to do is you want to pick up that phone, but before you do it, you've got to get your energy up. You got to get fired up. So call a loved one or hug or kiss a loved one, pet a dog, sing to your favorite song, And normally they queue up "Don't Stop Believing," and I'll sometimes have to belt it out at conferences. I've been made to do that at a few.
You're going to be singing that one on Saturday, I'm sure.
So you want to get yourself fired up, and then you make the call, or you go see them, and you have a great visitor call. And then I'll ask folks, "What do you do next?" And everyone's like, "Celebrate." I'm like, "No, make another call." Like, go, you're on fire. Make another call, and then have a couple of successful calls. You make another one, and at the end of the day, celebrate, because you just had a whole series of great calls. So stop your hesitation. Perception and everything first. And when you do make that call, don't just sit there and have a telephone conversation, because then you have the telephone game for them to translate what you said to tell someone else that they work with. "Yeah, I just had a call with Alec and he told me about XYZ, and they kind of do this, or maybe they do that." And then the other person's like, "We don't need that." Like, they may miss it, and you get bounced out of a situation because you're counting on them translating it. So create branded 5 slides. Who are you? What do you do? What makes you unique? What are your customers saying? And why should we work together? What's the partnership or the relationship? How could that look? What would that look like? And you get on the call, or you get on your, like these kind of video calls, and say, "Well, I just put together a couple of slides. Do you mind if I just start off so I can tell you a little bit about us? Just take a couple of minutes." They always say yes. Now you own it. It's branded. You're in control. You're delivering the message you want. Package that up as a PDF, and you send it to them afterwards. And then now they can refer to it before they talk to somebody, or share it with them, so they don't have to play the telephone game. Then you get on the next call with the team. Guess what? You say, "Listen, we sent something over to you. I'm not sure how I'm going to get a chance to see it. Maybe we can level set, and if I can go through it right now, would you guys be okay? It's just going to take a couple of minutes." They're like, "Go for it." Now you own the next call, and you're delivering the message to that team. You look professional. So you're looking big. You're acting big, and you will become big, because they'll see that you're not your first time calling a strategic partner or that possible investor, or whoever it may be. So it's just really, really important to put your best foot forward at every turn.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the idea of the 5 slides, because it's like you said, the telephone game. By the time they tell somebody else, they've forgotten some of the detail. The other person tells somebody else, they forget more of the detail. So the 5 slides can just give the overall big picture of exactly what it is that you want to have, the message you want to get across. So that's beautiful. Get in state. I love it. Get yourself fired up and ready to go. And I'll give you guys a tip on how to do that. You can look in the mirror. It's mirror work. It's just looking in the mirror and speaking to yourself, because words matter, right? And the words we speak matter most of all when we're speaking them to ourselves. And we're not usually too kind to ourselves. We're not going to get into the whole conversation as we're running down on time, but I will say this. You can look at yourself in the mirror and you can say, "I appreciate you. I believe in you. You've got this. You're a badass." Whatever it is that you need to do, then you grab that call. And again, combined with music, listen to them, do everything that Alec is saying. Put on that music, call somebody you love. But before you grab on that call, because remember, energy, people can feel your energy even through the phone, because if you're smiling, you sound a certain way. And if you're frowning, you automatically, you're going to sound another, just because, your tonality is everything. So smile on the phone, get yourself in front of a mirror after. Maybe you're playing that "Can't Stop Believing." Maybe, you got your mom on the other line. You're looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, "Dude, I appreciate you. I love you. You're a badass. You've got this."
My mother would be like, "Don't swear. No swearing." But Mom, I'm a badass.
Listen, and you're from Boston. That's not swearing. That's like,
I know. I couldn't say any swear words.
It gets a lot hotter in the Northeast. So do a little bit of mirror work and just prop yourself up, right, and get yourself going, and then make that call. Love that. But the 5 slides, I remember it, because that way they remember the top points. Button up, get yourself a logo and some hats, some T-shirts, some swag, as they say, and make it look good. By the way, don't get cheap crap. Even when you're going to give something out, if you're going to buy 1,000 things that are crap, buy 100 that are badass, because people will hang on to them and they'll last a lot longer. That's just my little 2 cents on that. And then look big, act big, become big. Get yourself that email. That is so important. And I remember you said that to me a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, yeah. So you know what I've been giving out more often than not? Tony at GetUpNGrow, because again, I do have one for with the EXP, and I've got one with a couple of other companies. But my go-to was always that Gmail, just because it was just easier to give out. But now I give out my GetUpNGrow email. So thank you for that. That's great.
I'll put this in the comments, but I've been mentoring and coaching a great company for not just your standard branding, but King Pro Dani, King Pro DANI, and I'll put it in the notes. But I've been coaching her, and she's an amazing startup, small business that just is really creative with the items to make you stand out and not look like everyone else.
Dana says you can have 1,800 note cards stuck on your mirror like Tony and just pick a few each day to read. It's what I did while at his house. So yeah, so one of my bathrooms is the bathroom that the Jack and Jill bathroom that my kids use. Actually, no, the hall bathroom that they wind up using a lot anyway. My wife has index cards all the way around the mirror with positive quotes, inspirational sayings, so they can read those throughout the morning as they go. So yeah, right on the mirror, get a dry erase marker and say you're a badass, or you're a good boy, or whatever your mom would want you to say. But say you're nice. You're on fire. You've got this. I believe in you. I love you. I appreciate you. I accept you. Whatever it is that you need, say it to yourself. So yeah, write that. And if you can use lipstick. No, normally I don't think you have any lipstick in your bathroom unless it was left there. Like me, right? So 5 slides. So good. Love this. Just took some notes. Absolutely. Listen, always take notes, by the way. So when you're speaking to somebody that knows a lot more than you do, this is what you do. Look, see, my little graphic, go deep. Wait, go shallow and deep, not narrow, not wide and narrow. So, or not wide and shallow, I should say. So take notes, guys. This is the secret sauce. This is what you go. That's too far. But these are the notes from today's call. So take notes. So important. What else? Hold on. Dana says eyeliner is what she uses. It's waterproof. Nice. All right. Well, listen, we are a little past the hour, at an hour and 6 minutes. Any last parting words? And where could we find you? I know that is it. Give me your website and I'll throw it in here.
Yeah. So it's AlecSpeaks.com. AlecSpeaks.com.
Just make sure I'm spelling this right. I should grab my glasses.
That's all right. We can correct it.
Here we go. So AlecSpeaks.com. So follow this man. He is brilliant. If you have an opportunity, if he's on any stages anywhere, certainly Habitude Warrior, get to one of those conferences. But if you have an opportunity to listen to this man speak, or to meet him, shake his hand, or if you see him walking up to the Starbucks, you know what to do. You just run up behind him and get a little bit of one-on-one time with this man. He's brilliant. Funny guys, amazing. He's a musician. He's a drummer, so he's going to be drumming on Saturday night. So Saturday night, find my live stream, whether it be on YouTube or on Facebook, and follow along. It might not be on YouTube, but it will definitely be on Facebook. I appreciate everyone for watching. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, so I'd say there's 2 quick ones. The first one is accomplishments are something to build on, not rest on. So that's one of my mantras. And that goes right in line with, if you have a great call, make another one. So just build on, build. Don't want to put your feet up on the desk and relax and celebrate because you had one good win in the morning. So celebrate all small and large wins every day that are going towards your vision of 5 years out. So the first one, accomplishments are something to build on, not rest on. And my second one is a no means not now. So a no means not now to me is that, I've had many doors shut on me, in early days trying to raise funds or pitch the ideas or try to work with strategic partners. Oftentimes they come back around and you work with them later. So I take no as a not now, and I always did my whole life. And so that became a little troublesome at home because I would never accept no. If I wanted ice cream, I was going to get ice cream.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
But you visualize it and work through it and find ways to keep in touch with others. that maybe it's a timing issue. It's just, it just may not work out right now, but it comes around. And I've had some large partners who say, you know what, we just can't do this right now. And one of the key team members goes to someone else even bigger as a potential partner and calls and said, we can do it now. And so just always never burn the bridges, and just always know that those opportunities can come back around. And if you work the relationship well enough, you stay in the game. You don't take a no and put your head down and walk out. It's just stay in the game and continue with the relationships, and it will come back around and become a yes.
I love it. I love it. One of my, again, because I feel like my life, just like Dan, which is kind of weird because Dan Clark, he said it the other day, and I said it's so true. My life is like a series of quotes, right? So the one that comes to mind with this one is when you said no means not now. Is if you're tired of starting over, stop quitting. Right? Stop quitting and you won't have to start over. Just keep going. If you have a dream that you're chasing, keep chasing it. And if you believe in whatever it is that you're doing, then you can get at it, but don't quit.
Exactly.
I'm a bad quitter. I know you're a bad quitter too. That's we're common.
I'm not a quitter.
Well, like I said, I'm a bad quitter because I don't quit. I don't quit.
Quitting is not an option.
That's right. That's right. Anyway, listen, my friend, I really appreciate you taking, now we're at 1 hour and 11 minutes. Oh, look, 111. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of your knowledge with us. Can't wait to see you in person, and hopefully that'll be sooner than later. And for everyone that's out there, please share this video. Follow my buddy Alec at Alecspeaks.com. You can find him on Instagram. And then what's your Instagram handle?
So everything is my name. Alec Speaks is Instagram, and then the other tools, it's just my name, Alec Stern, ALECSTERN, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. So
awesome. You can also find me on Instagram at Tony Rodriguez with an S. That's Tony Rodriguez 2.0. And if you're here, then you know how to find me on Facebook, GetUpNGrow with Tony Rodriguez, and on YouTube as well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. And remember, my friends, that in life, it's not about how many times you fall. It's about getting up after every time you fall. You fall down 7 times, get up 8, and every single time you fall, you have an opportunity to get up and grow, because we're all growing through what we're going through, and life is happening for us. Appreciate you all. Thank you. Don't go away, Alec. Appreciate all of you. We'll see you tomorrow, where we're going to have the fabulous Sharon Lecter.
She's the best.
So yeah, join us tomorrow again. Appreciate all of you, and we'll chat soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Appreciate it.